Welcome to Solutions from the Yard, a candid discussion about life behind bars and its effect on society. We'll discuss reintegration or re-entry back into the community post-incarceration. Your host for this episode is Michael Dickerson L.
Welcome to Solutions from the Yard, and we have our co-host Darren Stephenson, and we have my brother man
Charles Hopkins.
And we're going to continue with our show with at-risk youth, and we have Darren Stephenson here, a well-renowned counselor, award-winning counselor. And, we just want to follow back up on, the at-risk youth and some of the things that we are trying to hash out, because one thing about it, the old saying is our children is our future.
Come on.
And that's a very important, what I want to say, maximum of truth, because without the youth, then what we gonna have? Because if the youth going down, guess what? Every generation is gonna follow right behind
That's
that.
Right.
And what was mentioned, then where we gonna stand? Because we ain't gonna have nobody left. And we got the the gentrification going on in Washington D.C. Racism never went anywhere. It's just basically a skirt been put on it, and it's just been hidden and identified as something else. So now you got all this privilege going on, and bike lanes and all this type stuff going on, man. And it's just we just want to just really as Washingtonians really not say want our city back, but just get some control of what's going on.
Right.
Because nobody else is really trying to do it, so we're going to have to do it ourselves. And that's what we do here at Solutions from the Yard, try to, put out there something that we can hold on to, that we can, try to use and take back, and, just apply to our lives and to whoever lives that we, that we want to hear this message. And, Brother Charles, I want you to kick it off. What you have for the brother Darren?
But and I like the fact that Darren is a counselor, and not only is he a counselor, but he also deal with at-risk youth or juveniles, just almost on the outskirts of society. And what I really want to address is, okay, we can't take the attitude that it's no solution. Because if we take the attitude that ain't nothing can be done, can't nothing be done with our kids are out of control, and this is becoming like the mantra from politicians, the Pharisees, so to speak. This is the mantra of, the politicians that's getting ready to pass the bills. Kids got to be held accountable. All right, this is the mantra being put up by people that don't understand. But my question to you is, how do we get enrolled to the kids? The ones that's not. How can we get them, the ones that's not, but affected by this? Because if you 14 years old and they saying 14 years old is dangerous and deadly, and you in the school and something go on, then you're gonna be identified or looked at with a broad lens. How do we get the youth overall to come to some kind of senses? I ain't talking about the ones that's doing. I'm talking about the ones that's not doing as well as the ones that's doing. Have you looked at that?
Absolutely. So when we talk about the youth today, right, it's a lot of information that has to be shared with the parents and with the kids. We all have two ages: a chronological age and an emotional age. Chronologically, I'm 55. Emotionally, I'm 90. So you have a lot of kids that's chronologically 13, 14, but emotionally they're 6. Well, emotionally they're 30. They've been through some things.
Right.
And so you can't have a one-size-fit-all cookie-cutter approach to these kids. So you got to really have some intimacy with these kids and get to help them, right? And when we talk about at-risk kids, those kids already the ball's been dropped 1,000 times, right? And they have so much hurt and so much pain. So they take the easy road. It's easy to hurt somebody when you're hurt, right? It's easy to pick up a gun, because when you pick that gun, it'll make you feel powerful for the first time in your life. And that's why they do it. It's just a sad situation, but it's layers of pointing fingers. When we talk about politicians, they're the worst ones, if you ask me.
That's right.
Because they getting paid to do a job. They're not protecting the black community. They're protecting the white community, That's why you see all those bike lanes, everything they need, but where's the help for the black community? And they're not culturally competent, right? You got to be culturally competent to help black people. You got to know your culture. You got to know a lot of the morals and values, and you got to roll your sleeves up and help these people. You can't just give out turkeys at Thanksgiving, right? They need help every day, every step of the way. Where's our community centers that's doing things, right? And where are the old heads in the community talking to the young boys, right? Like I got a son that's a Morehouse with honors graduate. He want to be a tough guy. I got to will him in, you know. So this no one's escaping this stuff, right? It's just out there, and we got to get back to how things used to be, right? And when the street light came on, everybody in the house, and every Sunday everybody went to church, man. You want to or not, right? I remember my grandmother at church singing in the choir, looking at me, right? And we got to bring those days back. We got to bring our communities back. Shut those cell phones off. Take that social media off, and let's start reading, right? And let's start congregating as a community. This violence got to go. Yeah. Because once the violence starts, all bets is off. If you don't feel safe, you can't learn. You can't heal.
I know when they first started. I know when this thing first hit the deck in the District of Columbia. The first thing they said was, this was early. This was before the mayors. This was during the mayor's race. Oh, all the people that was locked up, returning citizens, they the ones that's doing all the crime. Remember that's what they was throwing out there. And but the chief, the one that just left, they got the money, Conte, I think his name, the one that just knew that if he stayed around, that eventually they gonna come to him and say like, man, why you ain't did something about it? So he put his resume and any hat that came up. Anybody went in the hat and pulled his resume out, he was happy with that. Yeah, I'll go there. I'll go work with the Boy Scouts. I'm just getting the heck out of D.C. So he said that when they was talking about, well, it's returning citizens, you know, they ain't doing what they supposed to be doing with them. He came out and said, no, this was last year, right before, during the course of the mayor's race. He said, no, it's juveniles, he says, young adults is doing these crimes. My question is, if they know this, then, and they knew it then why haven't they done anything about it? Why haven't they put the resources into doing something, like you say, creating some kind of programs or creating some kind of activities for these youngsters to channel their energy into, or to help or make the proper diagnosis on why they're hurting and help them out?
Because they really don't care. You know, I always tell people, my dad tell me all the time, to do a good deed, you got to be in your heart first, right? And these guys are heartless. These guys, them politicians are funded by, you know, this person or that person. So that's who their interests are. They're going to make sure they get what they need, not poor people. No one's coming to the aid of poor people, especially poor black people. You know, so, you know, when you talk about that group, you got to be like a Martin Luther King type of guy. You got to be in it to win it. And we don't have those kind of people anymore. You know, our community's in shambles, and we need to start there. We got to get the community together. And how you get the community together, you got to get your family together. You can't be, you know, saying, you know, Black Lives Matter when 300 black men go to prison every weekend. Yeah. And another 40 get killed. People don't respect that. So we got a lot of work to do. So if you really want to help the black community, you got to start small. Pick a community, and y'all just work from there and get that community together. Then you go to another community. But if you don't build an army, you can't go to this war. Because this is a war. It's war out here.
I want to ask you, this is, I believe, a great source of our problem. I want to ask you, what you think about the music nowadays? Because, you know, it's a big contrast between the music that we was listening to and what they listening to nowadays. What's your, I want to say, from a therapeutic or psychological aspect, what do the music do to these youth, these young children, young men and women? What do you think the music do to them psychologically?
Let me tell you what I know what music does to you psychologically, right? So, you know, I'm big on reading. All I do is read. I don't watch TV. And music has an influence on you. If you look at the music back in the day, you only had two record producers. You had Gamble and Huff out of Philly, and you had Barry Gordy in Motown. And they was the only ones producing black music. Until Ice Cube and came along with the gangster music and the white producers started producing black music, that's where the problem is. And back in the day, you had to be a group and you had to sing about love. And then when your group was successful, then you can go be independent like Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin, all them other guys. Jeffrey Osborne. And you had to be a group and you had to sing about love. Now it's the opposite. As long as you sing about hurting people, you'll get a record deal. They'll let a few guys get rich just to poison millions of young people's minds. They'll let a few Jay-Z slip through. He one guy.
Right.
He one guy. He got what, $2 billion? What the guy got for Amazon? He gonna be a trillionaire.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even know how you can get to a trillion. You gotta get 1,000 rows of a billion to get a trillion. Oprah got one, and Jay-Z got two. They ain't got no money. Some people ain't got no money, so it's
nowhere near 1,000.
So you gotta be a broad thinker. You gotta be a conscious black man to help black people, and that's what I do every day. I'm a poor righteous teacher. It was sense to me. I make $150,000. I'm check to check because what kind of man would I be with a bank full of money and my kids are starving and my family is hurting? I don't do that. I don't need money. Yeah. I just need a little something to survive. Everything else I give away. Yeah. I'm telling you, that's the kind of man you got to be to help black people.
You gotta be a sacrifice.
Yeah, you gotta be serious about this game. I know just a few guys that's like that. Only a few. You know, we gotta build our men up because it's always the boys that's doing the damage. The girls ain't. The girls get to the line and stop. Boys don't even see the line. That's why prison full of black men, young and old.
All right, let's go down the checklist. Okay, let's look at this here, and I'm gonna ask you what role they should play in it, and you let me know why and why not. Okay, let's go first. Let's go with the main institution. This is the institution that we use to solidify us on slavery, the church.
Right.
What role should they be playing in terms of trying to do something about the problem dealing with our?
Well, this is my view, and this is my view on church. Church is just one facet of life. It's religion, right? And religion to me and politics are bad for black people. Religion and politics, I think, is bad for black people because we get too caught up in it, and they get too driven, and we miss the mark, right? You got a church on every corner, and they're still not getting the job done. So it can't be them. It can't be church and it can't be politicians. It got to be loving people, right, with good spirits and good hearts that's going to bring us around. Until you get a room full of that, I don't think it's going to get done because we tried 1,000,000 times before. I watched Louis Farrakhan do the 1,000,000-man march, get 1,000,000 guys to come to DC. I was a young man. I came. He ain't do nothing with that. He had the momentum. And that's religion. That's religion. When you add religion, something about religion, it kind of gets us off track as black people.
What about charter schools?
Charter schools is good, but it's kind of like unorganized.
And I'm talking about specifically the ones that like
some of them are good.
Kids is dealing with.
Some of them are good, but it's organized chaos, right? Because in the charter school, you don't have to be certified. You know, so you can be with a high school diploma, and they make you the dean of students, right? So it's a difference. You'll never see a charter school in Montgomery County. They don't play that down there. That's why they always top school system in Maryland, top 5 in the United States. Montgomery County. If you want to see things done, you got to look at the white folks that's doing it. And school is born to our children because it's set up for white kids to appear smarter than black children. So I tell our kids, you smart, that's not our thing.
What about the Boys and Girls Club?
That's one small entity, right? But they can't do anything if the families are wrecked. If the community's a wreck, what they gonna do?
Right.
What can they do? Sports, but when the game over, then you gotta go back to that bad neighborhood. We gotta dismantle our neighborhoods. We gotta dismantle that chaos. We got to. We the only community where you can kill a guy and they hide you out. I used to work with the young boys in DC. You know what they used to tell me, Mr. Darren? They gave my cousin a coming home from jail party and I graduated from high school. I ain't getting nothing. Gotta change that mentality. We gotta change that mentality. If you live around people like that, then you gotta get away from them. And that's when I say save every dime you got. Save every dime you got. Pool every resource you got. Find a relative down south and get out of here. Especially raising children in them bad neighborhoods because you're just breeding criminals. You're breeding criminals. And we got to get out of that. It's killing us, man. Our kids don't know nothing about the history. They don't want to know nothing because it's not important. They got this thing called ghost gun where you can order one part from this part of America, other part, and put it together. Come on, man. Come on, who do you think they made that for? Who made that ghost gun and who's it gonna serve? The person that made it ain't gonna go to jail, but that young boy in Southeast, when he gonna go to jail for killing somebody. And that's by design. It's by design, man. It's by design. It's sad that it's us. But we gotta get better. And that's why these kind of forums are important. And that's why I'm here.
To educate, because like you said, you know, that's why I always looked at these so-called ghettos or black barrios. They ain't nothing but factories to create, you know, a criminal, because that's what it is. Because if you go to Frito-Lay, a manufacturing company of Cheetos and Fritos and all these other tater chips, you ain't gonna see a steak come out of there. The factory only could produce the bagged junk food. That's it, and that's all. So therefore, you know, it's the same thing with these, you know, these projects and stuff like that we have. It's producing something, and you know, and that's the thing. Like, I want to really concur with you on that, you know, because the powers that be know that, you know, like you say, when it comes to poverty and stuff like that, you know, you ain't never heard of a rich ghetto. You know, everybody in the ghetto on welfare, food stamps, and Medicaid and all that other stuff. So you ain't gonna do nothing but produce one thing out of that. Wrong can produce wrong. You know, it can't produce right.
That's right. And it's a lot of factors. Just think about it. When we talk about the projects, right? Everybody get tax return. Everybody get a little big income tax check. What they do when they get it? Straight to the mall. If they just save their income tax for 2 years, everybody can leave. So it's a way out. But you just gotta, you know, you gotta get the money and hold it for them because they ain't gonna be able to hold it, right? They need help.
But that's the mindset of the music, because the music is just, it ain't doing nothing propagating mass consumerism. That's all you're doing is just teach you to be a consumer, because it's always about get the bag, you know, $10,000 bag, you know, $1,500 shoes, you know, $800 jeans, and it don't do nothing but produce a good consumer. And that's all the music doing is producing being a drug addict, an alcoholic, and a consumer.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you, what role you think that the legalization of marijuana plays in?
Oh my goodness!
In this toxic behavior that we see. I'm asking this because I was driving the other day, and the dude, I'm saying to myself, there's no way you cannot be intoxicated. He had a joint in his mouth. When he was puffing the joint out, it was like a big trail of smoke, like the choo-choo train. It's a big trail of smoke. I'm saying, like, how can he not be impaired? And he driving and like he basically on he down in the hood area, so he driving like with reckless abandonment. And I'm saying to myself, like, how can you not be impaired? You know, your senses can't be that alert.
No.
Where and I'm looking at his Virginia tag. I'm saying, well, I done already sideswiped 100 million cars. Lord help, please don't hit my car. My insurance already $1 billion.
It's just, you gotta think of it like this. They don't make laws for black people. They make laws to trap black people.
Come on.
You understand what I'm saying? If you look at any law, all them drug laws, cocaine, crack, they make laws to trap them. We fall for the trap. Everything. Okay, they legalize weed. That don't mean you gotta be smoking and driving. What we do? Smoking and drive.
Yeah. Cause you ain't gonna see. I'm telling Mike this. I can't. This is a fact. I cannot come pull up to a stop sign or a light with a 40 in my goddamn hand and guzzle it down. Some naughty head and guzzle it down. Whatever kind of liquor. I can't sit at the light, guzzle that joint down, and I have everybody around me calling 911. But I can take and roll up a joint the size of that water bottle, fire that joint up, hit it, had the whole car smoked up, can't even see where I'm driving at, and won't nobody say nothing other than like, oh,
that's legal.
That's legal. He can smoke that.
As long as black folks are on the path of destruction, that's what they want.
Exactly.
So you say it's premeditated.
As long as we're on the path, whatever it is, if it's the path of destruction, that's what I want them on.
Yeah, because I don't see nobody smoking it but us on the corners. Correct me if I'm wrong. I never seen a person of the opposite complexion driving down the street smoking no weed. I haven't seen it yet, but I see all our people smoking it.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, Mike. I haven't seen I seen the weed shops, right? But I never seen nobody, European, walking down the street, rolling up a joint, firing it up, standing still, and like, you know, and they privileged in their mind, but they
ain't taking that privilege. That's one privilege they ain't taking advantage of right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the power. It's the trap.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing but the trap. Every law is made to trap black people.
What do you think about the fentanyl? The
trap.
Infestation of fentanyl.
It's a trap to depopulate people of color. They're going to depopulate us. That's why they brought Narcan to get them back, but they ain't to get you back. I'm telling you, the game is rigged. If you just take a step back and look at, the game is rigged. That's why I get my boy sharp. Because if he fall, it's his fault. If my son break the law, I'm going to turn him in. I'm going to be the one to turn him. No. Let me hear you break the law. I'm going to be the one to turn him in. And that's the mentality we got to get. These parents just don't have it. The key characteristics of bad parenting is antisocial behavior. When your parents let you bring that stolen bike home and they don't do nothing about it, antisocial behavior. And kids like that are never resilient. They never can bounce back.
And you know what? I remember my mother, and I was like a juvenile. I remember my mother was so strict that she would literally shake my room down. And I remember I had stole some money, had some brand new shoes up under the bed. She came in and found. I come home from school. I see the shoes sitting on the table. I said, I know what this is, right? So I'm looking aloud. She see it. She say, listen, before you even start lying, where they come from? I say, oh, they belong to so-and-so. She say, all right, take them back to them right now. Here, take these shoes. Wherever you say they go at, take them out this house. Take these shoes out here now. And they was mine. So I had only way I could keep the shoes, I had to give them to somebody else to hold for me. I couldn't, and I had to take them off before I got back in the house. To go back to your point, they wasn't, parents back then, they wasn't accepting you bringing stolen property in the house. It wasn't acceptable behavior. And I don't care how poor we was, you're not bringing those stolen pork chops in the house. You're not going in the frying pan. That's right. You're going back out the door.
Well, you gotta look at it like this. Like you said, the parents are friends with their children, so guess what? If I'm on Instagram, you on Instagram, you trying to get likes, I'm trying to get likes. So if you got a son or a daughter that come in and they just ran a scam, they all with it because guess what? Both of us going shopping and both of us gonna get some new clothes so we can try to compete for some likes. So therefore, I see a lot of, the same mentality in the household because that's what the problem is now because, when I start doing things that was unbecoming of Dickerson, my mother and father used to say, I don't know who you is because that's not who we raised. And now that it resonates, now that I'm a grown man, I understand what they saying now because they let me know that I'm nothing like you. You know what I'm saying? Because what I put into you is not what I am. I only put into you what I am. And see, so now I'm starting to understand that when it comes to parenting, you and your child are two different entities at a time. Even though you're going to wind up growing up and be a parent yourself, still I'm going to always be your parent. I'm going to always be 26 years older than you or whatever the case may be. No matter whether you 50 or 60, guess what? I'm still going to be 26 years older than you. So therefore, you have to conduct yourself in that manner because you always supposed to be a step ahead of your child. And that's what I see a lot now that, what the drugs have done, it put parents backwards. You know what I'm saying? So now they are just like their children because the way they was raised when they was coming up in those drug eras, they was never taught proper parenting. So when they was never taught proper parenting, guess what? Now when it come to being a parent, you look at your child looking at you and they looking at both of y'all hunching y'all shoulders because they were like, neither one of y'all have any answers. That's right. So guess what? Hey, we in the same boat, so therefore, it's just a, what I want to say is a sad state, but I think that, one thing about drugs play a crucial part of why we are in, what we into today, because like you said, they used to call it the war on drugs, stuff like that. But now I look at the crack era and all that, and they got way more drugs out and more devastating drugs than they did way back then. Because for real, when you really look at it, the people that's out there using drugs now are younger, and the drugs got a more effect. Right. So we really have to really, I want to say, focus on that as well because we in another drug epidemic. You know what I'm saying? Because they got drugs I never even thought about. They got a drug called zombie. Who would even attempt to use a drug called zombie? Sure. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one of the things that we really got to touch on and then, to close this out. Darren, what you think about what we need to do with drugs?
First of all, people don't realize why people use drugs. People use drugs because of stress. So folks got to get their stress management skills together, because the drugs is the worst coping skill to a problem. It magnifies your problem. They don't get it.
That's right.
And when we talk about parenting and drugs, a lot of parents don't realize that raising children is the absolute hardest thing to do in this world. And being in a relationship with a man and woman is the second hardest. And when you're doing two of the most difficult things simultaneously, almost impossible. That's why I see a lot of people that's married, but you don't see a lot of happily married people, because you're doing two of the most difficult things simultaneously. And they don't get it until I get in the room with them and I tell them. Yes, and family dynamics is a big part of everything. Having a disabled child will ruin your family. Having an incarcerated parent will ruin your family. Having someone with mental illness, a lot of factors. Having a step parent, oh yeah. And then he come and have a baby with your mom. Change the whole dynamics of your family. Every time somebody leave or come and leave that family, changes everything. So all these factors that people don't know that's going on in their life, they just pick up drugs and try to cope, and it makes things worse. But it's a lot of factors to our problems as black people. A lot of factors. A lot of factors.
There you have it, from one of the best, Solutions from the Yard.
You've been listening to Solutions from the Yard. This podcast is presented by Voices for a Second Chance, a comprehensive reentry program that provides culturally appropriate, trauma-informed, gender-specific, and peer-based services. For more information, go to info@vscdc.org or visit our website at www.vscdc.org.